My parents humiliated me at my brother's wedding, but they didn't know I owned the catering company, so I pulled the plug and left 300 guests without food. I've always dreamed of working for myself, and that's exactly why I started a catering business. It all began with a small food truck during my college years, which eventually grew into a full-fledged catering company with over 50 employees, serving upscale events throughout Chicago. I worked incredibly hard to build this, sleepless nights, sacrifices, and persistence. It took nearly 10 years, but I'm truly proud of what I've created. This context is important to understand what happened last weekend at my younger brother Mark's wedding, which turned into a complete nightmare. To clarify, I hadn't spoken to my family in almost 6 years. My mum died when I was 14, and my dad remarried within a year to Jane, my stepmother. Jane made it clear from the start that she didn't want even the slightest reminder of my mother. My dad, eager to move on, allowed her to erase all traces of my mum from our lives, which created tension between us. My younger brother Mark, who was only 10 at the time, grew very close to Jane, while I struggled to accept her sudden authority in our home. That's when the real problems with my dad began, and we started to drift apart. The real breaking point came during college. I was juggling multiple part-time jobs to pay tuition, as my dad refused to help financially, claiming I needed to learn responsibility. Meanwhile, he paid for Mark's expensive private university in full. The contrast in treatment was too glaring to ignore. Jane treated me with contempt and never missed a chance to belittle my efforts as I was building my catering business. She often called it playing food truck, while praising Mark's real career in finance. After graduation, I barely kept in touch with them, only occasionally showing up for holidays. The final straw came when I found out 6 years ago that Dad and Jane had sold our family home without telling me. I only learned about it after they had moved. All of my mother's belongings, the things I wanted to keep, were gone. When I confronted my dad, he told me I was being overly emotional and needed to move on. That's when I decided to cut them off completely. Then last month, out of nowhere, I received a formal invitation to Mark's wedding. It came with a handwritten note from him saying he missed me and wanted to reconnect. After much thought, I decided to give it a shot. Despite everything, I figured it was worth trying. I even offered to cater the wedding at a significant discount as a gesture of goodwill. Mark politely declined, saying they had already hired another company. I was a little hurt, but let it go. The wedding took place at a beautiful venue in Lake Forest. I arrived cautiously optimistic. Mark genuinely looked happy to see me, and I felt relieved. But Jane hadn't changed a bit. The moment she saw me, she made a few snide remarks about my appearance and business. I ignored it and tried to enjoy the ceremony, which, to be fair, was beautiful. However, the seating arrangement said a lot. I was placed far from immediate family, next to distant cousins I barely knew. It felt like a subtle message that I was still an outsider. During the reception, things took a nosedive. My father, clearly drunk, approached my table and began berating me. He accused me of showing up uninvited even though I had the invitation in my pocket, and loudly declared that I was a disgrace to the family, ruining Mark's big day with my presence. Before I could respond, Jane chimed in with fake politeness, asking how much I was making pretending to be a restaurant owner. She even commented on my suit, implying there's no way I could afford it. Their audacity was off the charts. Instead of arguing, I quietly decided to leave. It was clear there was no reasoning with them, especially with Dad drunk and Jane savoring every dig. I was heading to my car when I noticed the catering staff setting out the main course. Some of the faces looked familiar. They were my employees. That's when it hit me. The catering company Mark had hired for the wedding had recently been acquired by my firm. The previous owner stayed on as manager, so I hadn't been directly involved in this booking. But legally, the company and the catering at this event was under my control. I called my operations manager to confirm what I suspected. It was our job. I remembered my father calling me a disgrace and saying I ruined the wedding. So I figured if my presence was that offensive, surely they wouldn't want my company serving their event. I gave the order for my staff to pack everything up and leave. Within 15 minutes, all 25 of my employees had loaded the food, equipment, and supplies back into our trucks and left. Chaos erupted almost immediately. 300 guests were left without food. People started to realize something had gone seriously wrong. My father tried to intervene, but it was too late. The contract signed with the company's former owner included a clause allowing us to terminate service in case of hostile or discriminatory behavior toward our staff or leadership. And that's exactly what happened. I left my business card with the venue manager and told them my father could contact my lawyer with any payment concerns. The fallout was immediate. By morning, my phone was blowing up with texts from relatives, calling me selfish and petty. Mark sent a long message saying I had ruined his wedding and proven that Jane had been right about me all along. My father predictably threatened to sue for breach of contract. I forwarded everything to my attorney and blocked their numbers. Then something unexpected happened. A few wedding guests reached out and some actually supported me. They'd seen how Dad and Jane treated me and were appalled by their behavior. One of Mark's friends, who had previously used my catering services, messaged to apologize for what happened and praised how quickly and professionally my team handled the situation. That support was surprising but reminded me that not everyone in the family was blind to what really went down. Eventually, word of what happened at Mark's wedding began to spread. From what I hear, rumors of the drama made their way through his social and professional circles. Jane's carefully crafted image started to crack. Some mutual acquaintances even said she tried to downplay the incident by blaming everything on me, but the truth was already out and no one believed her version. The damage was done. I've thought a lot about what happened. Honestly, I don't feel guilty. I didn't crash their wedding or make a scene. I was invited and got nothing but disrespect in return. They chose to humiliate me, and I exercised my legal right to pull the plug. Nothing personal, just business. If they didn't want me there, they didn't need my services either. Simple as that. Still, I can't shake the feeling that I've been dragged back into a family drama I've spent years trying to avoid. Now I wonder, was I justified? Did I go too far? Or did they truly deserve the outcome for how they treated me? Either way, the whole thing still weighs on me. That's why I'm sharing this to hear your thoughts. Do you think I did the right thing? Update 1. First of all, thank you all for the incredible support. Honestly, I didn't expect this story to gain such traction, but I'm immensely grateful for every kind word and message. The number of comments and DMs was overwhelming. I tried to respond to as many as I could, but it quickly became exhausting. Still, I truly appreciate every response, and many of your perspectives made me reflect on the entire situation in a new light. A lot of people asked about the legal side of things and whether my father and Jenny plan to take legal action against me. Short answer, yes. They threatened to sue, just as I expected. Here's what's happened since my initial post. Right after the wedding fiasco, I contacted a lawyer to prepare for any possible fallout. We carefully reviewed the contract between my catering company and the former owner of the business, which was signed either by Mark or his wedding planner. The good news is, the contract is solid. It includes a clause allowing us to terminate service in the case of hostile or discriminatory behavior toward our staff or management. That clause was added specifically for situations that might spiral out of control. To further protect myself, I contacted the venue manager, who confirmed that security cameras captured everything. The footage clearly shows my father approaching me. While the audio wasn't perfect, the video is enough to prove that he verbally abused me. Jenny's toxic remarks were also caught on camera, which clearly showed their behavior was hostile enough to justify cancelling the service. With that kind of evidence, I felt confident in my legal position. A few days after the wedding, my lawyer sent an official letter to my father's attorney outlining the situation. We explained everything in detail and emphasized that the contract permitted us to pull out due to their hostile behavior. We even mentioned the video evidence and made it clear we were ready to present it if necessary. At first, I thought that might be the end of it, but I underestimated how stubborn and vindictive Jenny could be. Yesterday, my father's lawyer responded with a demand for a full refund for the catering. They also threatened to sue for damages, claiming that by halting service, I ruined the wedding and caused irreparable harm. They wanted compensation not just for the catering, but for the entire ruined event. Naturally, I had no intention of giving in to their demands. I wasn't about to pay them a dime, especially when they created the whole mess. After consulting with my attorney, we decided to make a counteroffer. We'd return 50% of the deposit, but only under 2 conditions. First, they must sign a non-disclosure agreement (NDA), meaning they couldn't publicly discuss the situation or leave negative reviews online. Second, they must sign a release of liability, preventing them from filing any future claims against Me or my company, we sent the proposal, and now we're just waiting on a response. Despite the ongoing legal mess, Jenny has already tried to stir up trouble. A few days ago, the venue manager called to let me know Jenny attempted to post negative reviews about my catering company online. In her posts, she claimed we sabotaged the wedding and exaggerated everything to make the family look bad. Thankfully, the manager managed to block her attempts, but it's still frustrating to deal with. My legal team is monitoring the situation closely, and if Jenny continues spreading false information, we'll treat it as defamation and respond accordingly. Strangely enough, the wedding chaos has actually brought some unexpected positives to my business. A few wedding guests have already reached out to praise how professionally my team handled the situation and even inquired about hiring us for future events. Some said they were impressed by how quickly and calmly we packed up and left. It's strange to think that such a failure could lead to new opportunities, but that's been the silver lining in all this. For my brother Mark. He still hasn't reached out directly, but he did send a message through one of our cousins. In it, Mark admitted he felt guilty for not standing up for me at the wedding. He said he didn't want to cause issues with our dad and Jenny, which is why he stayed silent when things got out of hand. He apologized and asked to meet and talk things through. I have mixed feelings about it. On one hand, I want to give him a chance to explain. On the other, it feels too late. For now, I've decided to postpone any meeting with him until the legal situation is resolved. On a personal level, I've done a lot of thinking. In some ways, I'm proud of myself for standing my ground. My family treated me like an outsider for years, and I finally drew a line. Legally and professionally, I know I did the right thing, but emotionally, it's been draining. It's hard not to feel a sense of loss. Even though I haven't been close with my family in years, Mark's wedding was supposed to be a celebration. Instead, it turned into a lawsuit and another source of family drama. I never wanted that. The emotional toll is starting to hit hard. I've been thinking a lot about the long-term consequences this might have on my relationship with the rest of the family. Will things ever return to normal? Will I ever rebuild anything with Mark, or is the damage too deep? I don't have those answers yet, and it's going to take time to figure everything out. For now, I'm focused on how Jenny's father will respond to our proposal. If they agree to the NDA and the liability waiver, maybe we can all finally move on. If not, and they decide to go to court, I'm ready to defend myself and my company. Whatever happens, I'll keep you all updated. Thank you again for your support and kind words. It truly means the world to me during this chaotic and stressful time. Update 2 since my last update. Things have only gotten messier, though at least the legal part is now behind us. Recently, I learned something new. One of my business partners, who had professional contacts with the wedding planner hired by Mark and Jenny, shared additional details about what went on before the wedding. Turns out, the chaos started long before I showed up. It had been building for weeks. According to my partner, Jenny was impossible to work with from the start. She insisted on numerous last-minute changes to the floral arrangements, even after everything had already been approved. She argued with the planner over practically every decision. The wedding cake was redesigned at least 3 times because Jenny couldn't settle on a design. Just days before the event, she demanded a complete change to the seating chart. The planner had to reshuffle 300 guests, which wasn't just inconvenient, but expensive. Tension also developed between Jenny and the venue staff. Apparently, she made several condescending remarks about their level of professionalism, complaining that they didn't meet the standards of a luxury wedding, which is especially ironic considering that the staff is among the most highly rated in the industry, and the venue itself is known for top-tier service. Jenny even tried to change the band's set list at the last minute, despite having approved it months in advance with Mark. It was one of those classic situations where the bride wanted control over everything, turning the preparation into a nightmare for everyone involved. My partner told me that at one point, the planner nearly quit due to Jenny's constant interference and unreasonable demands. But being a true professional, he saw it through, despite the emotional pressure Jenny placed on the team. Hearing all this gave me a sense of moral validation. The stress and confusion I experienced at the reception were only the tip of the iceberg compared to what the vendors went through leading up to the event. Now back to the legal side. Yesterday, my father's lawyer finally responded, and they accepted our proposal. After, I assume, a long discussion between Jenny's father and their legal team, they agreed to the partial refund and signed the NDA. This morning, they signed all the necessary documents, and we processed the 50% refund of their deposit, minus the expenses already incurred on food, staff, and logistics. With that, the legal dispute is officially over. The letter from their lawyer was cold, informal, no apology or admission of fault, but I didn't expect any. What matters is they accepted the terms, and I no longer have to worry about legal consequences from their side. However, while the legal chapter is closed, the personal consequences continue and things have only escalated. One of the most concerning developments is that Jenny has been actively trying to sabotage my business ever since the wedding. She's been calling my employees, fishing for information about the inner workings of my company. Thankfully, my team is loyal and understands that engaging with her is a bad idea. We've instructed everyone to forward any communication from family members to our legal department, but it didn't stop there. Jenny began reaching out to some of my business partners on LinkedIn, spreading false accusations and claiming I deliberately ruined her son's wedding. Being angry is one thing, but actively trying to destroy someone's career is another. Jenny clearly crossed the line in trying to damage my reputation. As soon as we learned about it, our lawyer sent her a cease and desist letter demanding she stop. We're taking it seriously. Her actions border on defamation. My legal team is prepared to escalate if needed, but we're hoping the letter will cool things down. Still, knowing Jenny and her disregard for boundaries, I wouldn't be surprised if she continued, but perhaps the most unexpected development came from my brother, Mark. I wasn't expecting much from him after the wedding, but apparently the fallout has affected his marriage too. According to several friends and cousins, Mark and his new wife already had their first major fight about what happened at the wedding. It seems she was horrified by how my father and Jenny treated me, and after the wedding, she had a serious conversation with Mark. She told him outright that he should have stood up for me, and that allowing his father and stepmother to publicly humiliate me was unacceptable. From what I heard, she firmly believes Mark needs to grow a spine and stop letting our father and Jenny walk all over him. This led to a serious argument between them. They even postponed their honeymoon to work through the issues. I don't know all the details, but it's clear that for the first time, Mark is being forced to confront reality and reassess his relationship with Dad and Jenny. I have mixed emotions about it. On one hand, it feels validating that someone else saw what I did. I'm genuinely touched that Mark's wife was as disturbed by Dad and Jenny's behavior as I was. But on the other hand, I feel bad for Mark. He's in a tough position. As much as I'm angry at him for not defending me, I know he's been under pressure from the family for years. That's no excuse, but it is a factor. He just got married and now he's stuck in the middle of all this chaos. So the legal battle is over. Jenny's attempts to hurt my business are being handled by my legal team. And for the first time in a while, I'm starting to feel a sense of closure. I don't know what the future holds for my relationship with Mark or the rest of the family, but for now, I'm moving forward, one step at a time. I'm incredibly thankful for the support I've received from my employees, business partners, and even some family members who reached out privately with kind words. If anything else happens, I'll let you all know. But for now, I hope this chapter is finally closing. Update 3. Hi everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Yesterday, I met with Mark over a cup of coffee. It was a pretty emotional meeting, one I wasn't fully prepared for, but I felt it was necessary. This conversation had been building up for a long time, and I think we both knew it. Mark apologized for years of enabling Jenny's behavior and for going along with our father's favoritism. He was clearly shaken, and I could see how much weight he had been carrying. I've always known Mark loved me, but hearing him admit that he too had become complicit by allowing Jenny to dictate the rules in our family, that was a huge step. Mark told me that Jenny had been controlling their family for years through financial manipulation. He recently found out that she convinced our father to transfer a large portion of the family assets into her name, including a share of Mark's own house. Mark had absolutely no idea any of this was happening and felt completely betrayed. It explained a lot about their relationship. He was upset to realize he had been living under the illusion of independence, when in reality, Jenny had been pulling all the strings. Now that he's seen the full picture, Mark has started working with a financial advisor to regain his independence. I'm proud of him for that. It shows he's ready to take control of his life. During our meeting, Mark also mentioned he and his wife had a fight, but later that same day, she reached out to me personally to share some good news. They're starting couples therapy. It seems like Mark is finally beginning to find his voice and push back against Jenny in a way he never did before. They're actively searching for a new apartment that will be solely in their names, with no involvement from Jenny. Hearing that was a real relief. It seems like they're setting boundaries and reclaiming control over their lives. I sincerely hope it stays that way. Mark's wife also mentioned they're planning a small vow renewal ceremony in a few months, one where the people seated at the family table will be very different. They're consciously redefining what family means to them. That truly warmed my heart. It feels like they're choosing to write a new family story, one without the toxicity of Jenny and our father. Surprisingly, Jenny and our father have gone quiet since signing the NDA. Through mutual acquaintances, I've heard that they've begun to face some social consequences within their country club circle. Apparently, they'd been telling everyone a very different version of our family story, one that painted me as the villain. But now it seems people are starting to question their narrative, and the consequences of their actions are catching up to them. It's strange to realize that the social status they valued so much is now at risk, all because of their own behavior. This whole experience has taught me a lot, especially about the importance of setting boundaries with toxic family members. Sometimes the hardest decisions, like keeping those boundaries or standing up for your values, turn out to be the right ones, even if they create temporary chaos. I've learned that staying true to your own truth, even in the face of judgment, can lead to unexpected growth and healing in other relationships. I'm thankful for your support. Many of you messaged me with your own stories of toxic relatives, and it helped me realize I'm not alone in this. I hope my story can help others who are going through something similar. I've come to understand that life's too short to waste on toxic people, but it's never too late to reconcile with those who genuinely regret their actions. I plan to continue keeping my distance from Jenny and our father. They've shown me who they truly are, but I'm cautiously optimistic about rebuilding my relationship with Mark and with other family members who are willing to engage respectfully. I think there's a real chance for reconciliation now, especially with Mark beginning to understand the importance of healthy boundaries. On the business front, things are going even better than I expected. After that wedding incident, several potential clients reached out, impressed by how professionally my team handled the situation. They appreciated the composure and integrity we maintained despite the chaos. Our company's reputation has actually improved within the local community, and we're seeing a surge in new bookings. It feels incredibly rewarding to see that years of hard work are paying off and that my perseverance and dedication are finally bearing fruit. I also made time to meet with my staff and talk through the incident. It was important to me that they felt supported and recognized for their professionalism during such a tough situation. Their responses were incredibly warm. Many of them expressed appreciation for the strong corporate culture we've built together. That made me feel proud as a leader. It reinforced just how important it is to treat your team well and foster a positive work environment. Take care of yourselves. And remember, protecting yourself is okay, even when it's hard. You never know who it might inspire to do the same. That's all for now. Thank you for listening to this story till the end. Don't forget to follow our channel and take care.